So Anora is the 8th feature film from director Sean Baker. He is a veteran in the game, but he has been mostly famous, I think, over this past 4-movie run that he's done in particular, where he's become very, very prominent to more audience members because of his work on the 2015 film Tangerine, which had a lot of attention because it was primarily shot on an iPhone. If not all of it was shot on an iPhone. He followed that up with the Florida Project. That was right on the ascent of A24 becoming very, very successful with a lot of the movies that they were distributing. And then most recently, 2021, his last film, Red Rocket, also got a ton of attention for the performances in that feature film. But now he's coming back with Anora, again starring Mikey Madison, very, very young, talented actress. Most people will probably know her from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and also Scream, the 2022, I think that was 2022 film that she was a part of. And she is the lead star for this film. And it is certainly something to talk about that we're going to get into here just because of all the possible implications that it may have on the upcoming award season. But with all of that out the way, man, I will pass it over to you. What did you think about Sean Baker's brand new film, Anora?
Ooh, one of the most anticipated movies of the year. Sean Baker is a really good filmmaker. I enjoy him a lot. I like Tangerine a lot. I like Florida Project a lot. I honestly still haven't seen Red Rocket. It's crazy. It's like the hole in my Sean Baker filmography, kind of like, dang, I really need to see Red Rocket. But Anora, being as anticipated as it is, and having seen some of his other films, really feels like some of those other films combined to me, low key. But in all the best ways. Anora is about a young sex worker. She's from Brooklyn. She gets a chance to have this Cinderella story where she meets and impulsively marries the son of an oligarch. And once the news reaches Russia, her fairy tale begins as the parents are trying to get back to New York to try to figure out what the hell we're supposed to do about our son getting married to this young sex worker. And Anora, man, Mikey Madison is on fire here. I think she is doing everything that she needs to do across the board. I mean, I think she, I love the way she walks, the way she talks. I mean, like she's putting everything all out there, like on the page, and she is just killing it in every way she needs to. I don't like by the end of the film, I was like, damn, Mikey Madison, I don't think I have any notes. I don't think there's anything else you could have done here. You really killed it. And this movie really is her. Like, of course there is, I don't know how to say his name. Mark, man, that name Idlestein. That's it. Of course there is Mark Idlestein and Yor Borisov and all these people that are also doing really well, but it's really her movie and she owns it. And I really enjoy her in this film. As a titular character, she should, but I really enjoyed what she had to bring to this film. And I think Sean Baker he does something so cool to me. That's always like, he moves the camera and he has these stories that are so down to earth and so realistic. And a lot of them are about sex workers. And I was just like, okay, so what does that world of sex work look like for them in their setting? And then he's able to like create these situations for them that are also kind of funny and like things that's like, whoa, how did you get here? Or how's this situation happening? And Anora has all these situations that you're going to laugh at and be like, whoa, this is bizarre, but it all works. Anora is a fantastic, phenomenal film. I enjoyed it beginning to the end. I laughed, I gasped, and by the end, you're like, okay, how are they going to bring this thing home? Is it going to be meaningful? Like, what is the fallout from any of this? And the ending just hits you. Like, it's just like, for me, it was like, damn. It was like a crazy gut punch of everything that had come to fruition and culminated, despite all the craziness that happened earlier in the film. It was just like, whoa, that's how you end a movie. And of course, ending movies are really hard to do, but I think Sean Baker usually gets it right. And he does a pretty good job of ending his films. I think Anora is his best ending that he's had yet thus far. I really, really enjoyed this film, man. It's going to be in talks for sure. I think for all kind of things. This is one of those movies that I know, like I can tell that in the film world we're going to be talking about, dang, this is going to be nominated for this, nominated for that. It did get the Palme d'Or, which was already impressive, but I think to see it finally come to the big screen and for me to live up to the potential of what a Palme d'Or is and the things I have been hearing about this movie is impressive, man. I enjoyed it beginning to end.
Anora was on my list of most anticipated feature films of the fall, and it Did not disappoint. I think Anora might be my favorite film of 2024 so far, and that's really hard to do, especially given at the time that we're at. Like, it's almost over. The year is like pretty much done at this point.
Yeah.
And for a film to come along and surprise me and shock me and to take me to all weird, wild, unexpected places, it's a rarity to just get something that feels so wholly original from beginning to end. This is the wildest ride that you might go on in a film this year, and that's because Sean Baker has just perfected his craft. This is the amalgamation, the culmination of all of his talents, all of his ideas, everything that he's worked towards has culminated in this movie that is just, it's extraordinary. It's this wild, catastrophic, fantastical dream of a film. And it's largely due to the fact that he has one of the most electric performers working right now in Mikey Madison, who just steals this film from beginning to end and becomes a star instantly with her performance. I mean, nothing in this movie really works without her as the centerpiece. And I always saw potential in her. I loved everything that I've seen her in up until this point, but to see her really utilized to her fullest capacities and to allow her to flex and to take a character to all these different places was really, really fantastic to see. And ultimately, I think with Anora, you're getting this blend of a lot of different things, because it is about a sex worker who does participate in stripping activities and ultimately does participate in selling sex. But then you're also getting this fantasy that plays out like a Cinderella story, as you mentioned. And then there's like this weird section that becomes almost like Scorsese's After Hours. Like, there's so many things going on here. There's Robert Altman influences. I'm just like, okay, y'all are doing so many different things at once, and it's not coming off of the hinges. It's actually working together quite seamlessly, if you ask me. And there's moments where I am laughing and it feels like a really joyous experience, and then there's another moment where I'm like, this might turn into a catastrophe. I'm almost waiting at any given moment for something to go terribly wrong, like the worst thing possible to happen. I was having like that Uncut Gems feeling, like, oh my God, this is going to boil over and become really, 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 really bad. And then it takes you in a completely different direction that you just don't see coming. And it's a wild, just unpredictable thrill ride, I think, of a movie. And the audience that I saw this with was just like into every single moment. Like, all of the comedy landed, all of the character beats landed, all of the sad emotional moments landed, everything you just, sort of experience when you go to a movie and you see it with a bunch of strangers. Like, it just all worked, I think, for everybody involved. And by the end of it, again, it just reinforced, like, yeah, Sean Baker, he has arrived, and he's always been here. He's always been really good. I think he's a really, really talented and bright filmmaker. But when you see somebody just, is able to kind of bring it home in this way and put all the pieces together and to do it so well and to execute at this type of level, it's a really, really phenomenal achievement. So I can't sing the praises enough about Anora. I think that it's just a really, really special and phenomenal film that also has, I think, even though I haven't seen it yet, again, a ton of rewatchability. I think that this is a movie that can play so many different times, and you can watch over and over and over again, discover different things, laugh at different things, all sorts of stuff, just because it has that type of entertainment value. And at the end of the day, like, what do we want? We want to be entertained. And this is a movie that has a message. It has thoughts and themes and ideas, but it also is incredibly entertaining. It's like the most entertaining stuff that I've seen this year. Like, there's one sequence in the middle that's like 25 minutes in a mansion, and I'm just like,
crazy.
Yo, this is just going. It's like, we're not stopping here. We're just going and going and going and going. And like, how many more levels and layers can we add on top of this? And so, that just shows the depth and the breadth of just like the material here and the script and the performances and everything just working out in such a beautiful way. And look, we are at the point where we have to talk about these things. Like, this has to be considered like one of the top front runners at this point. Yeah, we talked about a few. And, I know Sing Sing was top of mind earlier this summer. And I do think that it still has a great shot at a lot of stuff, although I'm kind of confused by the release strategy of that movie. It was a bit weird in terms of what they did there. But I know that this one is just, like, lead actress, directing, screenplay, supporting actor probably for Yuri Borisov. Like, what is it not going to be a contention for at this point? Like, it almost has to kind of run the table in terms of nominations. I'm not saying it's going to win everything, but in terms of being recognized, it has to be there, which I do find to be somewhat curious, because typically movies like this don't always end up in that type of conversation. But this would be a huge win for Neon, who's had just an extraordinary year. I mean, Long Legs
Such a good year.
was the horror movie of the summer.
Yep.
Cuckoo did pretty well. Now Anora just like really lighting a lot of critics on fire, and the conversation around films on fire. I mean, ultimately, when we do get to Oscar nomination season, like, how many could this possibly go for? Like, what are the big awards that you think that this is going to be in contention for? And I don't know if you even have possibly like early thoughts and predictions on who might possibly walk away with some of those things when we get to Oscar night.
Yeah, well, I know Best Picture. It's director in terms of these are nominations: Best Picture, director, actress. You know, I think you're Borisov even for supporting actor.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah,
for sure.
because
He's incredible in this movie.
I mean, when I like in my mind, I was like, "Oh, this is a breakout." Like, oh, this is what a breakout looks like. This is exactly what it's supposed to look like.
Original screenplay, yeah,
for sure. I think
editing.
if I low key right now, I would even predict it wins screenplay. I would predict it wins screenplay right now in this very moment.
Okay,
I think it's my favorite when in terms of original screenplay. I think it wins. I do. I really do. Again, it has too much to change my mind. Of course, we got to do retrospect, but right now, screenplay wise, I think it's the best. And editing, like you said, that might be it. I think a lot of the other stuff is going to be really competitive. Like all the technical stuff is going to be hella competitive. It's a very competitive year technically, but on the everything else I just said, director, actor, it's a shoe-in for at least 4 or 5 of those categories for sure. And I think it has a good chance again right now. Last year was way more competitive, I think, in the world of like dramas and what might win. I think right now it's looking pretty bright for Nora. I ain't gonna lie to you. So we're gonna have to see, but I can definitely foresee it winning. If definitely not being nominated for 4 or 5 of those categories.
I mean, if Neon can take this all the way, I mean that would just be so massive for them, so huge. They've really caught fire over the past few years, and they're certainly, in terms of just like manpower and resources, they're not on the level of A24 per se, and they would admit this, but that's okay. Like they are a lot smaller, but the year that they've had, it's just been extraordinary, and to be able to possibly turn this into a true award-winning, Oscar-winning campaign that can go the distance in a lot of these categories. Screenplay, I'm probably right there with you. I think it kind of has to be considered the front runner. There's other things that I've seen that were, that I haven't even seen. Like I still want to see The Brutalist. I know that's going to be a big talker for that conversation as well. But yeah, like even that is a huge win, and Best Picture conversations and lead actress, it's going to be extremely competitive this year in that category, but Mikey Madison stands a very, very good chance. I mean, there's a lot to talk about there, and so I just imagine a world if Neon can take this pretty far with some of those big wins. Only 2 years after what we saw with Everything Everywhere All at Once, just kind of sweep the table on the A24 side of things. Like independent cinema is like just killing it on all fronts if they can really go further with that. And so I would be really, really excited. I just know it's gonna have a huge presence come that time, or it might not. It also is very likely too that the Academy could just like ignore this movie. Like that is still a very real possibility. That is very, very real. Like sometimes we see some of these movies and it's like, of course they would get nominated. Of course that would be a front runner. And there's always surprises. There's always opportunities to where there's like, oh damn, something just didn't work out here. Something just didn't happen. But I would find it hard to believe in this particular year with this particular movie. I have high hopes for it, but we'll see in a few short months. But folks, those are all of our thoughts on the brand new Neon film from director Sean Baker, Anora. If you've checked it out, definitely hit us up and let us know what you think.